Chapter 38:27. He had lived in the family for so many years. He thought that everyone would believe him. However, because of Ao Ling Jing's framing, no one believed him. He could never forget that no matter how he explained, no one in the family was willing to believe him. Those people were familiar with him. However, at that moment, they didn't believe him. How sad was it that no one in the world was willing to believe him? Compared to those people whom he had always valued, Bewitching was willing to believe him even though they had only known each other for a short time. How precious was this trust? Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised that Bewitching would agree so directly. After all, they had only heard Ao Ling Zhao's explanation. They didn't know much about this matter. However, since Bewitching had made such a decision, she would support it. Actually, this matter is somewhat related to the D family as well. Ao Ling Zhao slowly said. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. What's involved? Our Ao family has always been on good terms with the D family. That's because the D family is fair and trustworthy. In comparison, the Jun family always likes to do things that cross borders. The D family and the Jun family have always had grievances. The Jun family always wants to hurt the D family. However, the D family is very powerful. Although the Jun family always wants to hurt the D family, they don't have any good opportunities. 2 years ago, the Jun family began to recruit small families in order to increase their strength. Although our Ao family can't be compared to the D family and the Jun family, it's not a small family. If Ao Ling Jing really relies on the Jun family, then once they join forces against the D family, I'm afraid this matter will be very troublesome. Ao Ling Zhao looked at Bewitching. In fact, he also felt that Bewitching could help him regain his family. That was because as long as he took back his family, the Jun family would become his enemy. He would never allow the Ao family to rely on the Jun family. However, he didn't expect that Bewitching would agree before he could even mention this bargaining chip. This made him even more touched. In that case, isn't the D family in a lot of trouble now? Bewitching frowned. Now that he had finally found out about his past, he did not want anything to happen to the D family. So far, I haven't heard of any changes in the D family. However, there have been many small conflicts between the Jun family and the D family since a long time ago. In fact, with the D family's background, if the Jun family really wants to touch the D family, it won't be done in a short period of time. Therefore, you don't need to be too worried right now. Ao Ling Zhao said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. She understood the situation that Ao Ling Zhao was talking about. For such a huge monster, even if they were to fall, it wouldn't be something that could happen in a short period of time. Moreover, since the Jun family had been doing so many little things over the years, the D family would definitely know about it. They must have taken precautions. So that's how it is. Bewitching relaxed a bit. I don't know where this upper world is. How can we go there? Before today, he had never heard of the upper world. He also didn't know where the entrance was. Chapter 38:28. The entrance to the upper realm is actually at the training grounds of the Inner Palace disciples. Ao Ling Zhao said. It's actually there? Bailey Hongzhuang was astonished. It was hard to imagine that a place where skeletons gathered was actually the entrance to the upper realm. Ao Ling Zhao nodded. That's right, it's there. Not every cultivator can enter the upper realm. Only cultivators who have reached the Star Radiance realm and above have the qualifications to enter the upper realm. Otherwise, cultivators will not be able to pass through the barrier to enter the upper realm. In fact, if a cultivator doesn't have such powerful strength, it would be very difficult for them to reach the entrance to the upper realm from the training grounds. Generally speaking, one would need to at least be at the 9th level of the Morale realm to be able to reach there. Because of this, only cultivators who have reached the 9th level of the Purple realm and above on Penglai Island would know about the existence of the upper realm. Otherwise, knowing about it would only be a burden to them. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching also understood. Just as Ao Ling Zhao had said, if one didn't have such a powerful strength and knew that there was such a terrifying existence in the Shengxian continent, anyone would feel a bit more pressure in their heart. This wasn't a good thing. It seems that Bewitching and I are already able to enter the upper realm. Bailey Hongzhuang's pitch-black phoenix eyes flickered with a bright light. The corner of her mouth slowly curled into a smile. It seemed that they had made the right choice to come to the Devil Training Tower. If they didn't succeed in the Devil Training Tower, it would take them a long time to break through to the Star Radiance realm. Now that they had just found out about Bewitching's background, they already had the qualifications to enter the upper realm. This way, they could quickly head to the D family to confirm Bewitching's identity. Bewitching also nodded. Now that he knew his true identity, he also wanted to head to the D family to confirm it. If he was really a member of the D family, then he could be considered to have found his own identity. Not to mention, according to Ao Lingxiao, the D clan had been searching for him for so many years. It seemed that the reunion of the D clan was something worth celebrating. Now, I can only hope that Yingying and Xiren will be able to successfully pass the trial. That way, their cultivations will also be able to rise to the astral boundary. Then we can head to the upper realm together. Bailey Hongzhuang was excited. Presumably, when Xiren and Shangguan Yingying would be very happy after hearing the news. However, Ao Lingxiao revealed a troubled expression. I'm afraid I can't go to the upper realm for now. Why? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. She was puzzled. Previously, I was heavily injured, and my strength regressed too much. Now, I have yet to recover to the Starlight Realm in such a short time. Ao Lingxiao had a difficult look on his face. This was something he was most unwilling to face. Originally, his cultivation was much higher than Ao Lingjing's. Ao Lingjing also knew this point, so he intentionally drugged him, causing his cultivation to drop a lot. Now, he actually didn't even have the qualifications to return to the upper realm. Thinking about it, ever since he came to Penglai Island, he didn't see Ao Lingjing chasing after him. He understood that this should be one of Ao Lingjing's plans. As long as he couldn't return to the upper realm, then he would never have any hope of taking back his family. Chapter 3829. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching couldn't help but stare blankly at Ao Lingxiao's words. They hadn't thought that there would be such a problem. After all, Ao Lingxiao was the former clan lord of the Ao clan. Needless to say, he was very powerful. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been qualified for such a position. Even though he was seriously injured, they hadn't thought that Ao Lingxiao's cultivation would decline so much. If it wasn't for the fact that my cultivation couldn't recover and I couldn't enter the upper world, I wouldn't have stayed on Penglai Island for 2 years. I would have gone to find Ao Lingjing to take revenge. Ao Lingxiao's eyes flashed with resentment. Ao Lingjing had destroyed everything. He had gone against his father's original intention and colluded with the Jun clan. He was a traitor to the clan. As long as he had the chance, he would never let Ao Lingjing do such a thing. He had even thought that as long as he killed Ao Lingjing, at least the clan would continue to exist. Otherwise, with the Jun clan's ambition, they might annex the Ao clan at any time. You've been mistaken as a traitor to the clan. With your current strength, you can't get close to Ao Lingjing. It's better not to be impulsive. It's better to cultivate properly and wait for the right opportunity. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said. She could understand the anger in Ao Lingxiao's heart. But this was definitely not a wise move. Fortunately, Ao Lingxiao's strength hadn't reached the Starlight Realm. Otherwise, he would have disappeared from this world long ago. Since Ao Lingjing could kill his father and mother, killing Ao Lingxiao wouldn't be a problem for him. Ao Lingxiao sighed. Indeed, with my current appearance, I'm no different from a cripple. He couldn't help but loosen his hands. His complexion was very dejected. He wanted to take revenge for his parents. But with his current strength, he couldn't even get close to Ao Lingjing. For a gentleman to take revenge, 10 years is not too late. Don't be too anxious. Bailey Hongzhuang comforted. Even if Ao Lingjing wants to rely on the Jun clan, the relationship between the Jun clan and the Ao clan isn't good. It won't be easy for him to promote cooperation between the two. At the very least, he absolutely cannot push this matter too quickly, otherwise it will inevitably arouse the suspicions of the people in your family. Therefore, for a short period of time, he will know his place. You don't have to worry. Hongzhuang is right. Since your big brother wants to be the patriarch of the Ao clan, then he will definitely be very careful in his actions. The scene that you imagine will not happen so quickly, so you still have time to change everything. I hope so. Ao Lingxiao nodded. It was precisely because he knew this that he was able to endure until now. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to restrain his temper. However, 2 years had already passed, and he still couldn't enter the upper realms gate. This feeling was driving him crazy. However, senior brother Ao still can't enter the upper realm. What should we do? Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but look at Di Beichen. She hoped that Di Beichen could reunite with his family as soon as possible. According to Ao Lingxiao, breaking through to the Starlight Realm wasn't something that could be done in a short period of time. If they stayed here and waited for Ao Lingxiao to break through, then it would be hard to say how long it would take. At this time, Ao Lingxiao took the lead and said, "You can go ahead first. When I recover my strength, I will go find you." Chapter 38:30. In any case, Ao Lingxiao wouldn't be able to take back the Ao family in a short period of time. Di Beichen was the first to go and meet his family. This would help Ao Lingxiao lay a good foundation when the time came. Otherwise, it would be almost impossible to help Ao Lingxiao take back the Ao family with just the few of them. Senior brother Ao, if we go first, then you have to cultivate harder and try to recover as soon as possible, Bailey Hongzhuang said with a faint smile. Previously, they didn't know why Ao Lingxiao approached them, so they were always on guard. Now that she knew everything, she was completely relaxed. They were closer than before without the estrangement from before. Because of Di Beichen's promise, Ao Lingxiao also felt relieved. At the very least, his path to taking back his family was no longer as hopeless as before. Perhaps he really would succeed one day. Thinking of this, Ao Lingxiao's face finally showed a trace of a smile. I will try my best to recover as soon as possible. Since that incident, his life's goal had been to take back the Ao family. He wouldn't let his family be deceived by Ao Lingjing, and he wouldn't let the Jun family's scheme succeed. For this, he didn't care what price he had to pay. After saying all this, Ao Lingxiao left. In the past, because he couldn't see any hope in his cultivation, he was a little lazy. Now that he finally found a glimmer of hope, he wanted to cultivate in seclusion and increase his cultivation as soon as possible. As long as his cultivation recovered, his hope of taking back the Ao family would be closer. After all, if he wanted to deal with Ao Lingjing personally, he had to be strong enough. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to avenge his parents. After Ao Lingxiao left, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen. Beichen, do you believe senior brother Ao SX's words so much? Di Beichen nodded. Although Ao Lingxiao and I have not known each other for a long time, I also know that he is not a crazy person. Even if he really wants me to help him take back his family, there is no need for him to make up something like killing his parents. Since he said so, this matter must exist. When the time comes, we can ask around and find out. Do you think Ao Lingxiao is the kind of person who would kill his parents? Bailey Hongzhuang heard this and shook her head. No. Bailey Hongzhuang's answer was very certain. Even if she couldn't guarantee that she was 100% accurate, she believed that Ling Xiao wasn't the kind of person who would do such a crazy thing. So, Di Beichen spread his hands. Since we all feel that he is not such a person, then the possibility that what he said is true is very high. I didn't expect Ao Ling Xiao to have experienced something like this. No wonder he is so reclusive now. If it was anyone else who had experienced something like this, their temperament would have changed. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed and shook her head. She could imagine Ao Lingxiao's incredulous expression when he found out about this. It was really like a heavy blow. Chapter 38-31. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded in agreement. After listening to Ao Lingxiao's story, she felt that Ao Lingjing was a very scary person. After all, there weren't many evil people in this world who could reach such a level. Not only that, but he was able to arrange all kinds of evidence so seamlessly that the entire Ao family didn't believe Ao Lingxiao. It could be seen how meticulous he was. Ao Lingxiao was stronger than Ao Lingjing in terms of strength, but in terms of intelligence, Ao Lingjing was probably not as good as Ao Lingjing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been kept in the dark for so many years until the very last moment. Ao Ling Zhao's strength has dropped so much that even he can't accept it. That's why he's like this now. Bailey Hongzhuang's light voice carried a bit of a sigh. However, after you agreed to help him, I noticed that his eyes were blooming with spirit. His mood was completely different from before. He only became like this because he felt that he had no hope. Now that he's pulled himself together, the speed of his breakthrough should be greatly increased. Bewitching smiled faintly. However, this matter can't be rushed. It's not something that can be done in a short period of time. Although Ao Ling Zhao spoke with certainty, they couldn't be sure that this was Bewitching's true identity until they received confirmation from the D family. Right now, I only hope that Ying and the others can succeed. That way we can go to the upper realm. I really didn't expect the Shengxian continent to be divided into 2 continents. However, this is more in line with the Shengxian continent I knew before. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a faint smile. After so many years, I don't know if there are any families that existed 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years was a long time, but for those monsters, it wasn't impossible for them to persist for such a long time. After transmigrating for so long, she had already accepted her current identity. However, she still missed her previous life. Bewitching looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's expression and had already guessed what she was thinking. He immediately said, I hope the Bailey family still exists. When the time comes, I will accompany you to take a look. Of course, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't reveal her original identity. Even if she did, no one would believe her. However, he understood the feelings that Bailey Hongzhuang had for the Bailey family. As long as she could see that the Bailey family was doing well, her heart would be comforted. Listening to Bewitching's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's face could not help but soften a little, and her eyes became distant and deep. If it is really still there, then it would be good. Back then, when she accidentally transmigrated, she didn't give any instructions or make any arrangements. This has always been a regret in her heart. If the Bailey family can't be passed down well because of her departure, then she will be the sinner of the Bailey family. Seeing the hope in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, Bewitching couldn't help but hold her hand. His voice was low but full of strength. Yes, they will definitely be here. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching returned to the challenge area, Mo Yunjue was still standing alone outside the challenge area. Chapter 38-32. He's busy cultivating in seclusion. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Hearing this, Mo Yunjue nodded, but the surprise in his eyes did not dissipate. So that's how it is. He has been cultivating very hard recently. Now that our cultivation has reached the Starlight Realm, he naturally has the pressure. If he doesn't cultivate hard, it will be difficult for him to catch up with us. While speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and winked at Bewitching. Ao Ling Zhao actually only told them about this matter. Presumably, he didn't want others to know about it. Since Ao Ling Zhao didn't want to say it, they naturally wouldn't say it. Moreover, Bewitching's identity had not been confirmed yet. It was too early to say all this. Master, as long as Ying and the others pass smoothly, we can return to Penglai Palace in 3 days, right? Xiao He ran out of the Chaos Ring. When Ao Ling Zhao spoke before, they also heard it clearly. They really wanted to see where the entrance to the upper realm was. It had only been 1,000 years. They didn't expect the situation in Shengxian continent to have changed so much. It was really beyond their expectations. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. That's right. As long as Ying and the others pass smoothly, our goal in Penglai Palace has been achieved. We can go back directly. That's great. Xiao He jumped and clapped. But after we go back, our first task is to deal with Chu Yunyao. Xiao He was very unhappy with this guy. There were many cultivators on Penglai Island who made it unhappy, but there was only one person who could make it feel disgusted like Chu Yunyao. When it thought of how Chu Yunyao looked down on its master, it wanted to teach this guy a lesson. He really looked down on people. Seeing Xiao He mention Chu Yunyao, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes darkened. After we go back this time, Chu Yunyao will definitely not be our opponent. At that time, we will naturally take revenge. As for Chu Yunyao, Bailey Hongzhuang was also extremely disgusted. If Chu Yunyao had done all this for her, it would not have been like this. However, Chu Yunyao had involved Shangguan Yingying in it and let her suffer such torture, which was the most unbearable thing for her. The reason why Shangguan Yingying had suffered such a serious injury was all because of her. If she couldn't avenge Shangguan Yingying, she would never be able to vent her anger. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bewitching couldn't help but smile. In my opinion, you don't even need to do anything. Yingying and Xiren won't let her off so easily. If Xiren's strength had also reached the Star Radiance realm, then he believed that the first thing when Xiren would do after returning was to kill Chu Yunyao. Because Shangguan Yingying's position in his heart was irreplaceable, Chu Yunyao's actions at that time had already touched Xiren's reverse scale, so he would definitely make a move. This was his understanding of his brother. Bailey Hongzhuang also understood that compared to her, Xiren definitely hated Chu Yunyao more. But since Xiren wants to make a move, then I will not come forward. This matter will be handed over to him. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Thinking about it, the situation was like this. Chapter 38-33. After Shangguan Yingying and when Xiren entered the room, many cultivators in the demon training tower paid close attention to the two of them. As Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two had succeeded in succession, everyone was very envious. Now that Shangguan Yingying and when Xiren had also entered the room, they were very curious as to whether the two of them would succeed. If the two of them also succeeded, then the strength of Bailey Hongzhuang and her team would really be too abnormal. They were clearly only in their 20s, yet they all had such strength. How could it not be amazing? Everyone was even certain that once when Xiren and her team succeeded, then Bailey Hongzhuang and her team would definitely become the most terrifying team on Penglai Island. From what I see, not all of them will succeed. Didn't the cultivator who came with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also fail? The cultivator that everyone was talking about was naturally Ao Lingxiao. Ao Lingxiao had not appeared with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others many times before, but he was still noticed by many people. Therefore, when Ao Lingxiao was about to enter the room, everyone also paid attention to him. When they saw that he had failed, everyone let out a sigh of relief, finally giving them some comfort. That man doesn't seem to be very close to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. They rarely appear together and we haven't seen them for a few days. However, when Xiren and when Xinya are different. They have always been together. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two sat on the ground, closed their eyes and began to cultivate, directly blocking out the noise around them. Although everything they saw when they were breaking through the room was an illusion, Bailey Hongzhuang was very happy. Her demon summoning scripture had indeed evolved and was not an illusion. Following the evolution of the demon summoning scripture, her cultivation speed had also increased. It was really something to be happy about. However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating, Baisher's surprised voice suddenly rang in her ears. "Master, let me tell you some good news." Baisher's voice was filled with excitement and agitation. It was as if he could not wait to tell her the news. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, a trace of surprise in her eyes as she asked, "What good news?" "A new stone room has finally been opened in the Chaos Ring." Hearing Baisher's words, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but be taken aback. Her pitch-black beautiful eyes immediately surged with surprise. "Are you telling the truth?" White Lion nodded. "It's true. I only just discovered it. Just now, it was bored and strolled around the Chaos Ring a few times. However, when it was strolling around, it suddenly discovered that there was an additional door. After taking a closer look, it discovered that a new stone room had been opened in the Chaos Ring. Once it had realized this, it had immediately come to tell Bailey Hongzhuang. After all, the appearance of a new door was a great help to Bailey Hongzhuang. "That's great." Bailey Hongzhuang was overjoyed. It had been a long time since a new door had been opened in the Chaos Ring. Chapter 38-34. When she thought of this, Bailey Hongzhuang almost wanted to immediately enter the Chaos Ring to take a look. Unfortunately, there were too many cultivators outside the challenge room, so it was not convenient for her to check. The three beasties were also extremely excited in the Chaos Ring. They were all guessing what would appear in the new stone room this time. Now that Master had already mastered many things, what would appear in the new stone room that would be beneficial to Master? "Master, Do you want to come over and take a look now? Xiao Hei could not help but ask. Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment before shaking her head. Forget it, I'll go in and take a look after Yingying and the others are done. Since the door to the stone room was already open, there was no need to rush. She had run back several times, so others would not know what had happened. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the three beasties understood what she was thinking. They immediately said, "Then we'll wait for Master to come back before going in to take a look." Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile as she said in a gentle voice. Bewitching also noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang was mumbling something. It was obvious that she was communicating with the three beasties. He could not help but chuckle. "Wife, what are you mumbling to Xiao Hei and the others about?" "I'm not telling you." Bailey Hongzhuang pretended to be mysterious as she blinked and stuck out her tongue playfully. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's lively and playful appearance, Bewitching's eyes couldn't help but deepen a bit, and his heart softened. His wife was very charming no matter how he looked at her. She was different and had a different style. To him, no matter how he looked at her, he would never get tired of looking at her. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two waited outside the challenge room just like that. As time gradually passed, the joy in their hearts grew stronger. As long as Xiren and Wenxinya were still in the breakthrough room, they would continue to challenge the breakthrough. As long as they persisted for one more day, they would have passed one more breakthrough. As long as they did not come out, it meant that they had a high chance of passing the breakthrough. After Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua found out that Xiren and Wenxinya had started to challenge the level, they had nothing better to do, so they came to the challenge area to take a look. Later on, they simply waited outside with Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two, waiting for Wenxinya and Wenxinya to come out. Regarding this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two were extremely surprised and amused at the same time. Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua really didn't put on any airs in front of them. Bailey Hongzhuang, during this period of time, Penglai Palace has produced a lot of healing medicine. Now, in addition to supplying Penglai Palace's disciples, it has also gradually begun to be sold outside. Long Yanwei saw Bailey Hongzhuang. During this period of time, Bailey Hongzhuang had not been in Penglai Palace. Presumably, she didn't know much about this matter. Has it already begun to be sold outside? Bailey Hongzhuang was a little surprised. She didn't expect Penglai Palace to be so fast. Long Yanwei nodded. The first batch of healing medicine was first supplied to Penglai Palace's disciples. It wasn't until there was a surplus of healing medicine that it began to be sold outside. In fact, if it wasn't to be more certain of the effect of this healing medicine, Penglai Palace would have sold it outside even faster. After all, the number of people in Penglai Palace was far from what ordinary forces could compare to. Once it was put into production, the speed was naturally not slow. Chapter 38-35. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. According to Bailey Hongzhuang's judgment, although she had already handed over the prescription to Penglai Palace must first verify the effect of this healing medicine. What's more, the number of cultivators in Penglai Palace was not small. Even if the healing medicine was made, they must provide it to the disciples in the palace as soon as possible. It would take some time to sell it to the outside. Now it seemed that Penglai Palace really had a lot of people and their speed was so fast. Now this healing medicine has only just begun to be sold. I'm afraid it will take some time for it to be accepted by everyone. However, according to the effect that we have verified, I believe that it will not be long before this healing medicine will be accepted by everyone. Long Yanwei's face was filled with a shallow smile. Even though he already knew that the effect of this healing medicine was very outstanding, according to the information provided by the cultivators in the palace, the effect of this healing medicine was still outstanding and beyond everyone's expectations. If Bailey Hongzhuang had not become a disciple of Penglai Palace, her medical skills alone would be enough to become a master of Penglai Island. Speaking of which, their Penglai Palace still had an advantage in this matter. Therefore, Long Yanwei also remembered Bailey Hongzhuang's friendship in his heart. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. It just took a few more days. I believe that Penglai Palace's business will be very good in the future. Bailey Hongzhuang had always been very confident about the effect of her healing medicine. After the first batch of healing medicine is sold, I think you will become a rich woman. Yizihua smiled and joked. As soon as this was said, Bewitching and Mo Yunjue could not help but laugh. 20% of the entire sect's healing medicine sales belonged to Bailey Hongzhuang. This profit was indeed not small. Yes. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Then I hope that Penglai Palace's sales will get better and better. In this way, I will also be a rich person in the future. Long Yanwei's lips curled into a smile. In fact, they all knew very well that with Bailey Hongzhuang's ability, if she wanted money, it was absolutely easy. However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang and others were talking and laughing, suddenly, a movement attracted their attention. For a moment, everyone's eyes looked at the breakthrough room because they clearly noticed that the movement came from the breakthrough room. Bailey Hongzhuang and others also frowned. At this moment, it was not even 3 days and there was movement in the breakthrough room. Could it be that there was a problem? Just as they hesitated, the door of the breakthrough room suddenly opened. Shangguan Ying slowly walked out of the breakthrough room. She looked like she had lost her soul, and her eyes were filled with dejection. Seeing Shangguan Ying, to Ying, Shangguan Ying, are you okay? Shangguan Ying, to Yinjing's to Shangguan Ying's, Hongzhuang, Shangguan Ying's was, pales is. Shangguan Ying glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang, as if she had suddenly found her pillar of support. She tightly grasped Bailey Hongzhuang's hand, the corners of her eyes were still filled with tears. Hongzhuang, I'm fine. She shook her head. Originally, she did not understand the difficulty of the breakthrough that everyone was talking about. She did not understand why everyone looked like they had lost their souls after coming out. It was not until she experienced it that she realized how difficult it was. This kind of scene was really difficult to bear. At the same time, she also understood how difficult it was for Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two to persevere. Chapter 38-36. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Shangguan Ying worriedly. Although she said she was fine, her expression clearly said that she was not. Bailey Hongzhuang helped Shangguan Ying to sit down at the side. She sighed in her heart. The inheritance of the demon training tower attacked one's heart. If one's mind was not firm enough, it was very easy to be confused or even injured. In fact, before she started the challenge, even she herself didn't know that she would have these problems. Therefore, even if everyone thought that they had no problems, they would only realize that they weren't as powerful as they thought they were after entering the trial. She was actually a little worried about Shangguan Ying, because Shangguan Ying was different from cultivators like them who had always been wandering outside. Her cultivation path had always been very smooth. Since young, she was the pearl of the Cloud Sword sect. No one dared to bully her. Although she had made great progress now, there were still many problems that she could not control. There was still a certain distance to completely overcome. Before this, Bailey Hongzhuang had guessed that Shangguan Ying might encounter a test. Just the second test of the Mountain of Corpses and Sea of Blood was probably unbearable for her. Because it was really too lonely. Even Bailey Hongzhuang herself had felt lost and lonely in that blood-red world. Shangguan Ying had never come into contact with such a thing. She probably could not accept it just by noticing the shocking scene, let alone having to stay in there for such a long time. Ying, are you all right? Bewitching asked with concern. Shangguan Ying sat down and drank some water. Only then did her spirit recover a little. She nodded, but her expression was still filled with frustration and helplessness. I'm already fine. It's just that I failed this test. Bailey Hongzhuang held Shangguan Ying's hand. It's no big deal if you fail. There will be chances in the future. The content of this test is really too abnormal. I didn't think so before, but after experiencing it, I only feel that it's really terrifying. Shangguan Ying sighed. Seeing Shangguan Ying quickly recover her previous vitality, Yizihua could not help but chuckle. No one has obtained the inheritance of the demon training tower for over 100 years. You have to get rid of the demon in your heart. This is already very abnormal. It's no big deal if you fail. I failed too. Shangguan Ying smiled at Yizihua and said, Instructor Yi, are you comforting me with your own experience? Of course. Yizihua looked at Shangguan Ying helplessly. If you weren't so depressed, I wouldn't have told you about my shameful past. It is precisely because of the difficulty of this trial that the inheritance of the demon refining tower is so precious. That is why the inheritor has such an extraordinary weight. Long Yanwei looked at Shangguan Ying. Actually, it's not a big deal if you can't get rid of the inner demons. There are too many people in this world who can't get rid of it. However, cultivators who could break through the demonic barrier would definitely be able to go further. This was because they had the heart of a fearless powerhouse. Really? Shangguan Ying looked at Long Yanwei expectantly. She saw that everyone had succeeded, so she also hoped that she could succeed. Now that she had failed, it was a huge blow to her. Chapter 38-37. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Shangguan Ying with a faint smile in her eyes. She had been a little sad when she saw that Shangguan Ying had failed, but now, she found it very interesting when she saw Shangguan Ying's innocent look. At their level, it was rare to see someone as simple-minded as Shangguan Ying. It was very rare. Lord Long, Instructor E, thank you. Shangguan Ying's eyes were filled with gratitude. She was not stupid and naturally knew that Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua were comforting her. When she had first found out that she had failed, she had indeed been very sad. However, after hearing everyone's comforting words, she felt much better. Everyone wanted to succeed, but there were very few who had actually succeeded. Furthermore, she knew very well that there was a large gap between her and Hongzhuang. Such an outcome was not unexpected. However, when all of this had really happened, she still felt a little sad in her heart. Seeing that Shangguan Ying had returned to normal so quickly, Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua could not help but smile faintly. When they had first met Shangguan Ying, they had already known that this girl's thoughts were extremely pure. At their level, it was very rare to see someone with such a pure mind. Thinking about it, she must have grown up under everyone's protection. Now that they had interacted with each other, they felt that it was very rare. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. It won't be too late to try again when you feel that you can break through that evil barrier. Bailey Hongzhuang comforted Shangguan Ying. One failure was nothing. There would be many opportunities in the future. Shangguan Ying nodded slightly. I will work hard. I hope that I can succeed next time. However, this illusion is just too realistic. When I first entered, I thought that it was just an illusion and that there was nothing to be afraid of. However, after entering, I found that everything was out of my control. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang sighed in her heart. She had also experienced this point. This was the power of the devil training pagoda. If not for this, how could she have been bewitched with her intelligence? Indeed, there is no use in believing that this is an illusion. You must really overcome it. Otherwise, the illusion will use countless methods to make you believe that everything is real. This kind of challenge is too perverse. Shangguan Ying muttered with a sigh. Even though she had already come out of the illusion, she still shuddered when she recalled the scenes that had happened before. Master, Ying has failed. What should we do? Xiao Hei's eyes were filled with helplessness. Now that they had finally found out about Di Beichen's origins, both Master and Di Beichen wanted to go to the Di family in the upper realm as soon as possible. However, in order to ascend to the upper realm, one had to be at the Starlight realm. However, Shangguan Ying had failed to ascend to the upper realm. With her current cultivation at the 7th level of the Purple Realm, it would take her quite some time to reach the Starlight Realm. If I want to go with them, I'm afraid I'll have to wait on Penglai Island for a while. Xiao Bai sighed. Originally, Shangguan Ying's failure was not a big deal, but now that she was involved in this matter, it was very troublesome. White Lion nodded. But Di Beichen hasn't seen his family for more than 20 years. Are we going to continue waiting? Chapter 38-38. Hearing the discussion of the three beasties, Bailey Hongzhuang's mood was very complicated. She only hoped that Ying and Di Beichen would succeed. This way, they would definitely become cultivators of the Starlight Realm. Unfortunately, Ying had already failed. No matter if Xiren succeeded or not, he would definitely be with Ying. Then what should she and Beichen do? Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang subconsciously glanced at Di Beichen. With Beichen's personality, he would definitely insist on staying and wait for Yingying and Di Beichen to set off together. Perhaps Xiaobai was right. Since they had already waited for so many years, waiting a little longer would not be a problem. After all, Xiren and Di Beichen did not want the two of them to be alone on Penglai Island. Therefore, they definitely could not abandon Xiren and Di Beichen. Fortunately, Xiren is still persevering. Hopefully, Xiren will succeed. Shangguan Yingying looked hopefully at the door of the breakthrough room, which was still tightly shut. When Xiren was currently inside, she had already failed. Xiren still had hope. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not help but look at the tightly closed door of the room. They only hoped that when Xiren would be able to persevere. Seeing this scene, Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua also felt a little emotional. Thinking back, they had also come here to try, but they did not succeed. Talking about this point, they could not compare to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. The surrounding cultivators had already known that there was no technique in this room when they saw Shangguan Yingying come out. Otherwise, with the experience of the three people, Shangguan Yingying would not have failed. After a few more hours, a series of noises suddenly came from the breakthrough room again. Hearing this voice, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but look at each other. If they didn't hear wrongly, this voice seemed to come from the room where Xiren was. Everyone couldn't help but frown when they heard the voice. It wasn't time yet. Could it be that Xiren also failed? Shangguan Yingying's expression was somewhat complicated. She knew how much Xiren cared about this challenge. In order to succeed, Xiren had worked extremely hard. Back then, when he failed to pass the blood refining tower, he had always remembered it in his heart. Therefore, he had always placed all his hopes on the demon refining tower. He only hoped that he could succeed this time. If Xiren were to fail again this time, the blow he would receive would definitely be greater than hers. This was definitely not a situation she wanted to see. However, no matter how unwilling Shangguan Yingying was, it still happened. The door to the room opened and Xiren's figure slowly appeared in everyone's sight. Seeing this, Shangguan Yingying immediately ran over. Her face was filled with worry and concern. She said, "Xiren, how are you?" When Xiren looked at Shangguan Yingying beside him, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. "Yingying? Yes, I'm here." Shangguan Yingying nodded. Xiren's expression changed a little. He understood that Yingying had also failed. It seemed that he had underestimated the difficulty of this test. No wonder so many cultivators had failed. It was simply too difficult. It seemed that Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang and Mo Yunjue were really three geniuses. Chapter 38-39. After seeing that Xiren had also come out, Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua exchanged glances. In fact, they were also very curious about the results of Xiren and Shangguan Yingying. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two's performance was too outstanding. If when Xiren and Shangguan Yingying could also do this, then they really couldn't help but sigh at the emergence of geniuses in batches. When did the cultivators of the outside world become so outstanding? Now it seemed that this wasn't the emergence of a batch of geniuses. It was just the appearance of a few extremely outstanding young people. "Xiren, are you okay?" Di Beichen looked at Xiren, his handsome eyes filled with concern. After experiencing all this, he understood this feeling. After entering this challenge room, they would see the scene that they didn't want to see the most. Even if they knew that everything was fake after coming out, they would still feel very uncomfortable in their hearts. Xiren waved his hand. His mental state was clearly much better than when Shangguan Yingying first came out, but that trace of depression and sadness could not be concealed. He grew up with Di Beichen since he was young, but he had never been able to beat Di Beichen in so many years. Although he had long been used to it, this failure still made him feel a little uncomfortable. "I'm fine. I'm just a little sad that I didn't succeed." Looking at Xiren's depressed appearance, Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but say, "Xiren, one failure is no big deal. Life is full of opportunities. Just because you didn't succeed this time doesn't mean that you won't succeed next time. I'm with you. Next time, we'll try again together." Seeing that Shangguan Yingying used the comforting method that everyone used to comfort her so quickly, everyone felt that it was very funny. This Shangguan Yingying was really heartless. Not long ago she was so depressed, but now she seemed to be completely fine. She wasn't affected at all. Xiren turned around and saw Shangguan Yingying's worried look. He immediately pulled himself together. No matter what, he didn't want Shangguan Yingying to worry about him. Yingying, you don't have to worry about me. I'm fine. I can still take this little blow. Hearing this, Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but smile. Xiren, I knew you would definitely pull yourself together. Of course. Xiren raised his eyebrows. It's just a blow. It's nothing. Hee. Shangguan Yingying also smiled. Let's try it together next time. All right. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were originally very worried that Shangguan Yingying would not be able to take the blow. However, judging from their current situation, it seemed that they did not need any consolation at all. The two of them had completely recovered by themselves. Yingying is really Xiren's medicine. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but look at Bewitching next to her. She had noticed that Xiren's expression was very strange when he came out. Although Shangguan Yingying's expression was much better than Xiren's when she came out, she could see that Xiren had suffered a heavier blow than her. But now, with just a few words from Shangguan Yingying, when Xiren had already recovered. This kind of recovery was not an act, but a real one. This was not an ordinary kind of power. Chapter 3840. Bewitching had known Xiren for so many years and knew his character very well. Although he would feel disappointed if he failed the challenge, he was never one to give up easily. He would quickly pull himself together again. Furthermore, Shangguan Yingying was by his side. In front of the woman he loved the most, he would never allow himself to be dispirited. Hence, it was within his expectations that he would pull himself together so quickly. After all, the challenge of the Devil Training Tower was not that easy to pass. So many people present had not been able to pass the challenge, so his failure naturally did not count as much. Hearing Bewitching's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes could not help but soften. The relationship between the two of them is indeed very good. Although Xiren and Shangguan Yingying had always bickered with each other, after this period of interaction, he knew very well just how deep the relationship between the two of them was. This kind of love that they had for each other since they were young had seeped into every detail of their lives. At this moment, Bewitching looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and could not help but frown. Could it be that my wife feels that our relationship is not good enough? Or that my performance at night was not good enough? Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned. After understanding the meaning behind Bewitching's words, her cheeks quickly flushed red. She glared angrily at Bewitching. What nonsense are you spouting? Bewitching chuckled. My wife is not dissatisfied. Then I'm relieved. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bewitching's devilish smile and felt a wave of helplessness in her heart. She could only be bullied by this guy in terms of words. It seems that there is no technique involved in this challenge. Otherwise, when Xiren and Shangguan Yingying would not have failed. That may not be the case. Perhaps they did not really tell Xiren and Shangguan Yingying the technique. If that's the case, then even if we find a way to ask them, they won't tell us. The cultivators present sighed one after another. They had originally thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two had the skills to clear the stage, and had only wanted to ask them for advice. However, judging from the current situation, it was clear that the situation was not as simple as they thought. Killing Chi Field, that was an extremely powerful inheritance. Once one obtained it, one's strength would definitely be different from before. Moreover, the rewards after passing this trial were also extremely shocking. In the past, it was fine if no one succeeded, but now that someone had succeeded and they didn't know how to do it, they were naturally very depressed. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest stood where they were, feeling the gazes of the crowd. They frowned as they listened to the discussions. Let's go back first, Bailey Hongzhuang said. All right. When Xiren nodded. There were so many people here that it was not a good place to talk. Then we'll go back first. If you decide when to return to Penglai Palace, let us know and we'll go back together, Long Yanwei said slowly. According to his plan, they would be able to leave after when Xiren and Shangguan Yingying had finished clearing the stage. However, Since they had not succeeded in clearing the stage, when Xiren and Shangguan Yingying would probably need some time to recover their emotions. They might as well not disturb them. Hearing this, Di Baichen nodded. All right. After Bailey Hongzhuang and the other four left, Mo Yunjue did not stay for long. Instead, he returned to the cultivation area to cultivate. Chapter 3841. I didn't expect both of us to fail. How depressing, when Xiren couldn't help but sigh as soon as he entered the room. His expression was full of helplessness. Previously, in front of others, he still had some scruples. Now that there was only Di Baichen and Shangguan Ying, there was naturally no need to hide anything. It's okay. Won't there be another chance in the future? Who knows, we might succeed next time, Di Baichen said. When Xiren shrugged helplessly, although that's the case, this kind of demonic barrier isn't something that can be easily broken. If we can't break it now, we might not be able to break it in 10 or 20 years, or even in this lifetime. The inner demon barrier was only related to one state of mind. It had nothing to do with age or strength. Perhaps as they grew older and stronger, their obsession would become stronger and stronger. It would be even more difficult to break the inner demon barrier. If that wasn't the case, it wouldn't have remained unsolved for so many years. This proved that if everyone failed the first time, no matter how many times they tried, they still couldn't break it. What's more, seeing the scene that he didn't want to see the most wasn't a good feeling. Don't worry. Take it slow. Maybe you'll be able to figure it out one day, Bailey Hongzhuang comforted gently. This kind of thing really couldn't be rushed. Only when one state of mind reached a certain level could they break it. The more anxious they were, the more obsessed they were, and the less likely it was to succeed. That's right. Anyway, we're still young. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Why rush? Shangguan Yingying looked at Xiren and her eyes suddenly softened. In my heart, you've always been the best. Even if you can't break through the inner demon barrier, what's so great about that? Hearing Shangguan Yingying's words, Xiren couldn't help but be stunned. He looked at the former in astonishment and even wondered if he had heard wrongly. In the next second, when Xiren suddenly rushed in front of Shangguan Yingying, he excitedly held Shangguan Yingying's hand, and his eyes flashed with disbelief. Yingying, did you just say that I'm the best in your heart? Looking at Xiren's excited appearance, Shangguan Yingying's expression was a little stiff and even a little shy. Compared to such warm words of praise, she felt more comfortable scolding him on a daily basis. However, thinking about how Xiren had suffered a huge blow today, Shangguan Yingying nodded and said, "That's right." After receiving Shangguan Yingying's confirmation again, Xiren couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. "Yingying, I've been with you for so long, and this is the first time you've spoken the truth." As soon as these words came out, Shangguan Yingying, Di Baichen, and Bailey Hongzhuang were all stunned. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen such a shameless person. Shangguan Yingying suddenly felt that there was no need for her to comfort him. She rolled her eyes and said, "I was just lying to comfort you." However, Xiren didn't care at all. He smiled and shrugged. "Yingying, you've already spoken the truth. I know everything you're saying now is just because you're shy. I understand." Shangguan Yingying looked at Xiren speechlessly. Her face was full of anger, but deep in her eyes, there was a deep smile. Chapter 3842. Inside the room. Di Baichen, what are your plans now? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Baichen. Originally, after talking with Ao Lingxiao, they had already made a decision. However, the current situation was slightly different from what they had expected. Di Baichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and immediately understood what she meant. He said, "Since Xiren and Yingying have not successfully broken through to the Starlight Realm, then we can only wait here for them to break through before we go." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. She had already guessed that Di Baichen would make such a decision. Therefore, she did not find it strange. "Then we will wait here for a while," Bailey Hongzhuang replied. "You think so too?" Di Baichen raised his eyebrows. Clearly, he did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to agree without saying anything. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and leaned on Di Baichen's shoulder. Her voice was gentle and pleasant. No matter what decision you make, I will support you. Actually, I have the same thoughts as you. Long ago, I had already guessed your decision. You have always been a righteous person. Xiren and Yingying have done so much for us. Naturally, we cannot abandon them and leave. Bewitching nodded slightly and reached out to play with Bailey Hongzhuang's soft and boneless hand. No one knows me better than Hongzhuang. Since so many years have passed since my birth, there is no need to be anxious. Now that I have some clues from Ao Lingxiao, although I feel that the possibility is very high, it is not necessarily so. After all, the world is so big and there are so many strange things. Anything can happen by coincidence. Bewitching's deep eyes were calm. So many years had passed, and he had seen a lot of things about his own life. It would be good if he could find his birth parents. However, if he could not, it would not become his regret. Now that he knew, it was just a matter of waiting a few days to meet them. It did not affect anything. On the contrary, Xiren was his brother for more than 20 years. Naturally, he would not ignore him. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. You are right. Actually, whether it is Xiren or Yingying, their cultivation talent is very powerful. I think it will not take them too long to reach the Starlight Realm. That's right. In this way, we can also wait until Ao Lingxiao reaches the Starlight Realm. Then we can go to the Upper Realm together. Bewitching smiled faintly. We don't know anything about that place. It's good to have one more acquaintance. If we have nothing to do tomorrow, let's return to Penglai Palace. Bailey Hongzhuang's dark eyes became deep. We have been here for several months. It is time to go back and settle the score with Penglai Palace. Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other, their eyes filled with joy. That was then and this is now. Compared to the situation when they first arrived, their strength had greatly improved. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others packed their bags and set off to return to Penglai Palace. Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua walked in front, while the five of them followed behind. Steward Qin also came to send them off after knowing that they were leaving. Come back to me when you have time in the future. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others nodded. Of course, of course. Master Long, Mentor Yi, you must come back to my place as a guest next time. Chapter 3843. Steward Qin looked at the two of them with envy and helplessness in his heart. Speaking of which, it was he who first met Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. It was also he who first discovered that Bailey Hongzhuang had such powerful medical skills. It was a pity that he failed to recruit Bailey Hongzhuang. Instead, he let Penglai Palace take advantage of it. Penglai Palace was the #1 force on Penglai Island. It was obviously impossible for him to compete with Penglai Palace. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two obtained the inheritance in the Demon Refining Tower. As a result, even Mo Yunjue joined Penglai Palace. In comparison, Penglai Palace was the one with the most face. As the steward of the Demon Refining Tower, his heart was naturally very bitter. He didn't grasp the great opportunity. What a pity, it was really a pity. Thinking of this, Steward Qin couldn't help but think of the Golden Flame auction house. If the auction house wasn't unwilling to sell the Tears of Cold Flame to him, then it wouldn't have fallen into such a situation. However, he missed it. Now, even if he wanted to recruit them, there was no hope. After all, Penglai Palace could afford the conditions that he could give to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. What's more, Penglai Palace still had Master Long. It was because of him that Penglai Palace was able to recruit many outstanding talents that other forces couldn't recruit. After bidding farewell to Steward Qin, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others set off on their return journey. After Bailey Hongzhuang and the others returned to Penglai Palace, Chu Yunyao and her sister also received the news immediately. During this period of time, they had been very concerned about the movements of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. After all, after the last incident, they all knew very well that once Bailey Hongzhuang and the others came over, there would inevitably be a fight between them. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others have returned. Chu Yunshang looked at Chu Yunyao and said slowly. Chu Yunyao nodded. So be it. What's the big deal? Looking at Chu Yunyao's indifferent look, Chu Yunshang couldn't help but frown. It is said that in addition to Bailey Hongzhuang, the cultivator who obtained the inheritance of the Demon Refining Tower is also their friend. This time, Master Long and Mentor Yi personally went to the Demon Refining Tower to recruit him. In this way, Bailey Hongzhuang's team will be even stronger. If they take the initiative to provoke us, I will deal with them with you. If they don't come looking for trouble, don't take the initiative to look for trouble, and don't go out by yourself. We have to find an opportunity to completely solve this problem. Chu Yunshang's face was a little dignified. Since knowing this news, she only felt that Bailey Hongzhuang and others were really formidable. These fellows had only been in the Penglai Palace for a short period of time. It seemed that every once in a while, the strength of their team would increase a little. Moreover, the speed of their improvement was very terrifying. It seemed that as long as they were not careful, their strength would quietly surpass them. This is the Penglai Palace. I don't believe that they would dare to take the initiative to provoke me after only leaving for a few months. Chu Yunyao still didn't care. In her opinion, Chu Yunshang was completely timid. Even a few guys who had just become inner disciples were afraid of her. It was a waste of her strength. Don't be self-righteous anymore. If you lose your life because of this, I'll see what you can do. Chapter 3844. Sister, I really don't understand. Why is it that the stronger you are now, the more timid you become? Chu Yunyao said with a chagrined expression. Isn't this all because of you? If I wasn't worried about you, why would I care about this? Chu Yunshang rolled her eyes, feeling that Chu Yunyao was really insensible. You should restrain your temper for the time being. If nothing unexpected happens, I will be able to successfully break through to the Star Realm in these days. After I break through to the Star Realm, we will find a way to deal with them. Hearing this, although Chu Yunyao was unwilling, she could only agree, all right. In fact, in her opinion, there was no need for Chu Yunshang to take action. She alone was enough. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was only at the 6th level of the Purple Realm at that time. Even if a few months had passed, how much could Bailey Hongzhuang's strength have improved? In the end, it was just that Chu Yunshang was too nervous. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had just returned to Penglai Palace when Ren Ziheng and some others rushed over. After seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were safe and sound, they could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, you are all right. We were really worried to death before. Ren Zimei could not help but sigh. Since that incident, we have not seen any trace of you. If we did not receive the note you sent back, we would have thought. Since Shangguan Yingying's accident, they knew in their hearts that it was Chu Yunyao's doing. Unfortunately, they could not find any evidence and did not know what to do. Later, Bewitching and Wen Ziren went out to look for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. They could not help much and were extremely nervous. Until now, they did not know how Bailey Hongzhuang and the others escaped from Chu Yunyao's hands. Fortunately, there were no problems in the end. Fortunately, you came back safe and sound, so we can rest assured. Ren Ziheng smiled faintly. Recently, you have really been in the limelight. I really did not expect you to be so powerful. You even succeeded in breaking through the demon training tower. We were just lucky, that's all. Di Beichen smiled. Chu Jinfeng waved his hand. If you were to be humble and say that you were lucky in other matters, then that would be fine. However, I have personally experienced the Demon Training Tower's test. That kind of abnormal degree is simply impossible for ordinary people to pass. The fact that you were able to pass proves that you are also abnormal. Hearing Chu Jinfeng's words, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but chuckle. Senior Chu, are you praising us? Or are they indirectly scolding us? Chu Jinfeng chuckled. Actually, this is also considered a compliment. Because this inheritance is truly sick, it means that you guys are very strong. Jinfeng is right. Ren Zimei nodded. This inheritance hasn't appeared for over 100 years. You guys actually managed to obtain it. It's really an eye-opener. However, after hearing Ren Zimei's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not pay attention to what she said. Hey. Ziren moved closer to Ren Zimei, his eyes full of ridicule. What did I just hear? What? Ren Zimei looked at Ziren suspiciously, her eyes filled with confusion. You just called Senior Chu Jinfeng? Did I hear wrongly? Chapter 3845. Looking at Ren Zimei's appearance, everyone was even more certain that there was something going on between her and Chu Jinfeng. In the next moment, everyone's gaze fell on Chu Jinfeng. When Ziren even asked, "Senior Chu, is there a situation?" Compared to Ren Zimei's reserved shyness, Chu Jinfeng was much more generous. He raised his eyebrows proudly. "Of course, your senior sister Ren is now mine." As soon as these words came out, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others all widened their eyes. Although they had already expected such a result, Chu Jinfeng's words were very bold and unrestrained. After hearing these words, Ren Zimei's face was so red that it almost dripped blood. She immediately pushed Chu Jinfeng and said, "What nonsense are you talking about?" "How am I talking nonsense?" Chu Jinfeng's expression became serious. "Zimei, I have liked you for many years. Now that you have finally accepted my feelings, I can't wait for the whole world to know." Ren Zimei, who was originally extremely embarrassed, heard Chu Jinfeng's serious confession, and the affection between her eyebrows became even stronger. The corners of her lips gradually rose into a smile. She had always known about Chu Jinfeng's feelings for her, but as she became stronger and stronger, her courage to give her true feelings became smaller and smaller. It was precisely because of this that she had never accepted him. It was not until she met Bailey Hongzhuang and the others that she saw them supporting each other that she felt that it was very beautiful and she yearned for it. It turned out that there were still such sincere feelings. Not everyone only valued their own interests. She also hoped that she could find her other half who treated her with such sincerity. Especially after Shangguan Yingying's disappearance, when she saw the anger and heartache on Ziren's face, her emotions became even stronger. Under the influence of such emotions, she gradually decided to accept Chu Jinfeng. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Chu Jinfeng and Ren Zimei, whose eyes were full of affection, and the smile in her eyes deepened. To be able to see that these two lovers had finally gotten married, they were also sincerely happy. "Senior brother Ren, did Chu Yunyao come to find trouble with you while we were away?" Di Beichen's eyes darkened slightly as he asked. Ren Ziheng waved his hand. "Although Chu Yunyao likes to stir up trouble, since your incident, Chu Yunshang seems to have restrained her a lot, so she didn't come to find trouble. In addition to the bounty issued by the Devil Training Pagoda, many cultivators want to take Chu Yunyao's head, so she doesn't dare to come out easily. During this period of time, she hasn't even left her house, and she doesn't even dare to go to the training grounds." At this point, Ren Ziheng couldn't help but admire Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Logically speaking, with Chu Yunyao's strength, it should be very easy to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and others. However, the situation was completely opposite. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were just newcomers who had just come to Penglai Island for less than a year, but they forced Chu Yunyao to a situation where she didn't even dare to go out. This was really not an ordinary situation. "How do you know that Chu Yunshang restrained her?" Shangguan Yingying asked curiously. Chapter 3846. "So that's how it is." Shangguan Yingying immediately understood. "I saw that Chu Yunyao's lawless appearance, so there is still someone who can control her. Speaking of which, we still don't quite understand why you were taken away by Chu Yunyao." Ren Zimei couldn't help but say, "If it was to take Hongzhuang, then I can understand, but to take you away for a Yunling fruit, I can't understand." Hearing this, Shangguan Yingying raised her eyebrows. "Why is it understandable that she took Hongzhuang?" "Because Duan Huali likes Hongzhuang, but any woman who is liked by Duan Huali, Chu Yunyao will always dislike her." "You guessed right." Shangguan Yingying gave Ren Zimei a thumbs up. In fact, Chu Yunyao's original intention was to deal with Hongzhuang, but that afternoon, Hongzhuang happened to be in seclusion, so I was the only one who went there. No wonder. Ren Zimei and Ren Ziheng looked at each other and immediately understood what was going on. Previously, they felt that there was something fishy about this matter. Chu Yunyao was famous for causing trouble in Penglai Palace, but she only targeted women, and these women all had one thing in common, which was that they were all liked by Duan Huali. With Duan Huali's playboy personality, any female cultivator with a little bit of beauty would inevitably be disturbed. Ren Zimei had also experienced such a thing in the past, but Duan Huali was just teasing her, so the matter was not very serious. Looking at your expressions, it seems that you know a lot of stories. Why don't you tell us? It's very interesting to talk about this. A smile appeared in Chu Jinfeng's eyes. This is a very famous love triangle. Love triangle? Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were slightly stunned. They had never heard of such a situation. Not bad. At that time, Duan Huali actually took a fancy to Chu Yunyao because she was also very beautiful. Chu Yunyao also had a good impression of Duan Huali. The two of them fell in love at first sight. However, they had just met each other a few times and had a good impression of each other. They spoke a few words, but they didn't even know each other's names. After that, Duan Huali went to the training ground. Who would have thought that he would meet Chu Yunshang during the training? Duan Huali did not know that Chu Yunyao and Chu Yunshang were twin sisters. He only thought that Chu Yunshang was Chu Yunyao. When they were training together, he began to pursue her. After saving Chu Yunshang once, Chu Yunshang also had feelings for him. After Chu Yunshang left the place of experience, she told Chu Yunyao that she already had someone she liked. It happened that Chu Yunyao also said that she had a sweetheart. The two sisters were very happy and planned to invite their sweethearts out to meet each other. Who would have thought that when they met, the situation would be awkward? Duan Huali didn't expect to see two people who looked exactly the same. Suddenly, he couldn't even tell who he liked. Chu Yunshang and Chu Yunyao were naturally dumbfounded. They didn't expect it to turn out like this, and they were embarrassed. No? So interesting? When Xiren couldn't help but be speechless. This kind of thing was really hard to say. Speaking of which, it was impossible to say who was right and who was wrong. Chapter 3847. It's so interesting. Ren Zimei nodded. Just thinking about it, you can imagine how awkward the situation was at that time. Bailey Hongzhuang was speechless after knowing all this. She never thought that Duan Huali and Chu Yunyao would fall in love at first sight. Recalling Chu Yunyao's appearance before, it was obvious that she had deep feelings for Duan Huali. It was a pity that her rival turned out to be her own sister. In this way, this matter was really difficult to solve. How was this matter resolved later? Shangguan Yingying asked curiously. Now Duan Huali doesn't seem to be with anyone. At that time, the three of them were speechless when they understood what was going on. Chu Yunyao thought that Chu Yunshang was a third party, and she was forcibly mixed in between her and Duan Huali. Chu Yunshang also had true feelings for Duan Huali. After all, the two had experienced life and death in the experiential learning place. Duan Huali even saved her. Before she knew this, she had always put all her heart on Duan Huali. As for Duan Huali, he was even more dumbfounded. He had always liked the two sisters as one person. Who would have thought that they would suddenly be divided into two people? He didn't know what to do. Duan Huali should like Chu Yunshang more. At this time, Bewitching, who had been silent, suddenly spoke out his opinion. As soon as this remark came out, Ren Zimei couldn't help but look at Bewitching in surprise. How do you know? Duan Huali fell in love with Chu Yunyao at first sight. This love at first sight was naturally based on appearance. Since Chu Yunshang and Chu Yunyao look exactly the same, what's the difference? On the contrary, Duan Huali and Chu Yunshang have been together for a while in the experiential learning place. This is a real feeling, so the weight in his heart must be Chu Yunshang. After listening to Bewitching's analysis, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others nodded in agreement. You're right. At that time, Duan Huali gave this answer after thinking about it. After knowing this, Chu Yunshang was very happy. After all, women always liked heroes who saved their lives. Moreover, Duan Huali was not weak and his appearance was also outstanding. In this inner hall, there were many women who liked him. However, Chu Yunyao doesn't have such a good temper. This Chu Yunyao shouldn't be trying to mess up Chu Yunshang and Duan Huali, right? Shangguan Yingying frowned and recalled Chu Yunyao's hysterical look when she talked about Duan Huali. She felt that Chu Yunyao was really likely to do such a thing. That's it. Chu Jinfeng sighed and nodded. To be honest, just based on this point, I am also very speechless about Chu Yunyao. In any case, Chu Yunshang was also her sister. She actually completely regarded her as a rival in love. After knowing that Duan Huali liked Chu Yunshang, Chu Yunyao couldn't accept this and directly made a fuss about it. It seemed that Chu Yunshang was the third party and robbed her sweetheart. In this regard, Chu Yunshang and Duan Huali were also very helpless. In the end, Chu Yunshang still looked at Chu Yunyao as her sister and reluctantly separated from Duan Huali. Although Duan Huali was unwilling, he couldn't help it because Chu Yunshang had made up her mind and Chu Yunyao was too crazy. Chapter 3848. After listening to all this, Bailey Hongzhuang and others couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. They really didn't expect that there was such a past between Duan Huali and Chu Yunshang. It was really beyond their expectations. It seems that Duan Huali's current appearance has a lot to do with Chu Yunyao. When Xiren sighed, recalling the playboy attitude when they saw Duan Huali before, it was hard to imagine that he had such a serious past. In fact, anyone who meets a woman like Chu Yunyao is very sad. She knows that her sister and Duan Huali have a deep relationship, but because of her own selfishness, she forcibly separated the two of them. Over the years, no matter who Duan Huali likes, Chu Yunyao will inevitably find trouble. If it was someone else, Duan Huali would have already taught them a lesson. The reason why he has been indulging Chu Yunyao is actually for Chu Yunshang's sake. You say, if you just fell in love with a woman and the woman died, what kind of feeling would you have? Now Duan Huali is just playing, and there is no real feelings. Chu Jinfeng shrugged. Although he was not very optimistic about Duan Huali's usual style, he still sympathized with Duan Huali in this matter. It seems that Duan Huali still has feelings for Chu Yunshang. Shangguan Yingying said in surprise. Ren Zimei nodded. It should be like this, otherwise Duan Huali would not still indulge Chu Yunyao. When Chu Yunyao kidnapped me last time, what she said was a completely different version. She said that Duan Huali had deep feelings for her, but they were not together because of a freak combination of factors. I said that with Duan Huali's temper, if he really liked her, how could he be with someone else? Shangguan Yingying curled her lips. She was very disdainful of Chu Yunyao's style. At this moment, after knowing all this, she was even more unable to understand. Until now, Chu Yunyao has always regarded Chu Yunshang as a third party, thinking that she was the one who obstructed the feelings between her and Duan Huali. Speaking of which, I admire Chu Yunshang very much. Although they are sisters, they are actually the same age, but she has always been extremely tolerant of Chu Yunyao, which is completely opposite to Chu Yunyao's selfishness. At this time, Renz couldn't help but say. Hearing the words Bailey Hongzhuang's, it seems that Chu Yunshang is still very good to her sister. For her sister, she even gave up the man she liked. However, with such a sister, it will be difficult for her to live a peaceful life. That's why I said that Chu Yunyao is a weirdo. When I heard that you had a conflict with her, I already felt that it was very troublesome. Chu Jinfeng said. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. There is nothing to worry about now. We don't have to be afraid of her. In just a few months, their strength has changed a lot from before. If they meet Chu Yunyao again, they don't have to worry. Because, even if Chu Yunyao broke through during this period of time, she was only in the first order of star radiance. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was the same as hers, so there was no need to be afraid. If she didn't break through, then Bailey Hongzhuang would completely beat her. Chapter 3849. Bailey Hongzhuang's black phoenix eyes flashed with a bright light, and her beautiful face was covered with a layer of coldness. As early as when she left, she had already made up her mind that when she returned, she would definitely get back at Chu Yunyao for the humiliation they had suffered. For Shangguan Yingying and for herself. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Ren Zimei and the others couldn't help but be stunned. They didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so domineering. In their opinion, even if Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had obtained the inheritance of the demon training tower, their cultivation would not be a match for Chu Yunyao. However, now that Bailey Hongzhuang had opened her mouth, she actually wanted to take the initiative to find trouble with Chu Yunyao. This was beyond their expectations. Hongzhuang, you have to think carefully. Once you go, it won't be just Chu Yunyao alone. Her sister Chu Yunshang and He Yunjun will also be there. Chu Yunyao is already at the 9th level of the Purple Realm, and Chu Yunshang and He Yunjun are even stronger than Chu Yunyao. Even if your strength has improved, I'm afraid you won't be a match for them. Rinzimei's face was filled with anxiety. Now that she finally saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others return safely, she didn't want anything to happen to them as soon as they came back. Hearing Rinzimei's words of concern, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. After exchanging a look with Bewitching and the others, she said with a smile, "Don't worry, we know what we're doing. Nothing will happen. Leave this matter to us. You guys just watch from the back." Bewitching also said slowly. Ren Ziheng and the others wanted to persuade a little more, but seeing that Bewitching also said such words, they must have thought about all this before coming back. Although they didn't know what happened after Chu Yunyao took Shangguan Yingying away, they knew that with Chu Yunyao's character, she would not treat Shangguan Yingying well. They were afraid that Shangguan Yingying suffered a lot in her hands. Judging from the strong feelings between Bailey Hongzhuang and others, Shangguan Yingying had suffered such a big loss in Chu Yunyao's hands. They would definitely not let Chu Yunyao go easily. "Since you've already made your decision, we won't stop you," Ren Ziheng said. "Big brother?" Ren Zimei frowned as she looked at Ren Ziheng. She didn't think that Ren Ziheng would agree to let Bailey Hongzhuang and the others go. The danger was too great. Ren Ziheng pulled Ren Zimei back and shook his head. Beichen and the others are not reckless people. Since they have decided to do this, they must have already made up their minds. Even if you try to persuade them, it will be useless. Ziheng is right. Chu Jinfeng couldn't help but say, "Have you forgotten the appearance of junior brother when junior sister Shangguan had an accident last time? Some things can be tolerated, but some things can't be tolerated." He also agreed with the approach of Bailey Hongzhuang and others. After all, Chu Yunyao's previous behavior was too much. If they didn't get back at her, no one would be able to stand it. What's more, he also believed that Bailey Hongzhuang and others should have a certain degree of confidence in doing so. The inheritance of the murderous aura should be very powerful. Even if they were not opponents, at least they could deal with them for a while. Chapter 3850. Bailey Hongzhuang and her party didn't even go back to their residence, but went directly to Chu Yunyao's residence. Now they were already in the limelight of Penglai Palace. When they first came to Penglai Palace, some cultivators didn't know enough about them. But now, as the effect of this healing medicine was completely spread, everyone's impression of Bailey Hongzhuang became very deep. After all, this kind of healing medicine had helped them a lot, so everyone admired Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills very much and had a certain good impression of her. At this moment, after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and others coming back, almost everyone's eyes were attracted by them. Bailey Hongzhuang and others are back. Look at the man in black beside them. He must be the cultivator that Master Long and Mentor Yi went to recruit this time. It should be like this. This time Bailey Hongzhuang and others are really famous. The murderous aura is an extremely powerful inheritance. I have only heard of it, but I haven't seen it until now. I hope I have the opportunity to really see it. But Bailey Hongzhuang and others don't seem to be going to their residence now. Where are they going? Some cultivators suddenly found that the destination of Bailey Hongzhuang and her party was a little strange, and they suddenly spoke out in surprise. Among the crowd, there were many cultivators who knew the grievances between Bailey Hongzhuang and Chu Yunyao. They immediately said, maybe they are going to find Chu Yunyao. Didn't they have a conflict with Chu Yunyao before they left? After such a reminder, everyone understood. They thought secretly in their hearts. They didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang and her party to be so aggressive to find trouble with Chu Yunyao. It was really beyond everyone's expectations. After all, if it was a normal day, this was usually done by Chu Yunyao. Bailey Hongzhuang and her party walked very quickly, and it didn't take long for them to arrive at Chu Yunyao's residence. Looking at the closed door, Bailey Hongzhuang said directly, "Chu Yunyao, get out here." As soon as these words came out, the surrounding cultivators all sucked in a breath of cold air, and their eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. No one had expected Bailey Hongzhuang to be so domineering the moment she opened her mouth. It was completely different from what they had imagined. She was simply here to clamor. Not only Bailey Hongzhuang, but Bewitching and a few others were also standing beside Bailey Hongzhuang. Their gazes were cold as they stared at the tightly shut door. Their faces were similarly filled with arrogance and indifference. That condescending look was filled with provocation. Chu Yunyao was cultivating in her room. Chu Yunshang had told her to cultivate in peace and not to find trouble with Bailey Hongzhuang and others. Although she was a little unhappy, she could only wait. After all, she still had to listen to her sister's words. It was just that she didn't expect that while she was still cultivating, Bailey Hongzhuang and her party dared to take the initiative to come to her door. This sentence made her so angry that her veins stood out. The next moment, Chu Yunyao stood up directly. Her face was full of anger, and her eyes seemed to be able to spit out flames at any time. This damn Bailey Hongzhuang, it's good that I let her go and didn't take the initiative to find trouble with her. She even dared to take the initiative to provoke me. She's courting death. Chu Yunyao cursed angrily. Chapter 3851. I'm going out to teach her a lesson. Chu Yunyao's face was gloomy, and her eyes were full of coldness. The last time she ran away, it was her luck. This time, I must make her regret appearing in front of me again. Looking at Chu Yunyao's angry appearance, Chu Yunshang couldn't help but take her hand and said in a deep voice, Yunyao, don't be too impulsive. It's not a matter of whether I'm impulsive or not. Now they have come to the door. Chu Yunyao's voice was mixed with anger, and her face became ferocious and ugly. It's because they have come to the door that we can't be impulsive. They must have something to rely on. If you go out directly, won't you fall into their trap? But if I don't go out, will I be a coward here and be insulted by them? Chu Yunyao was going crazy. During this time, because of the reward order, she had been trapped here and did not dare to go out. She was afraid that she would be attacked inexplicably. It was because of such a move that she was almost crowned by everyone as a coward. She also knew that she had offended a lot of people on weekdays, so once this kind of thing happened, there would be more people who would laugh at her, which was the most unbearable thing for her. However, now Bailey Hongzhuang took the initiative to provoke her. If she didn't go out, she would really have no face to see people in the future. Chu Yunshang's face was also very ugly. She didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang and others would take the initiative to provoke her, which was completely beyond her expectations. For a while, she actually didn't know what to do. You should know that this time, Master Long and Mentor Yi specially went to recruit Bailey Hongzhuang's friends. Now the recruitment is successful. I think Master Long and Mentor Yi also remember Bailey Hongzhuang's kindness. Maybe now Bailey Hongzhuang is relying on Master Long and Mentor Yi to come and clamor. In this case, we will always be at a disadvantage if we go out. Chu Yunshang's eyes were full of thinking. In her view, Bailey Hongzhuang and others had such courage. After all, there was a certain reason. If they didn't figure out the reason and went out rashly, they would definitely suffer. I don't believe that Master Long and Mentor Yi can protect them so blatantly. Chu Yunyao said with dissatisfaction. You're wrong. Chu Yunshang shook her head. Don't you remember what happened in the outer hall? Master Long is obviously on their side. Since we are staying in Penglai Palace, we can't be enemies with Master Long. There is absolutely no benefit for us. What should we do now? Chu Yunyao's brows were tightly knitted together, and her face was extremely dark. She had been in Penglai Palace for such a long time, and she had never been so aggrieved. Let's deal with all changes by sticking to the status quo. Let's see how things go first, Chu Yunshang said thoughtfully. When Bailey Hongzhuang saw that Chu Yunyao did not come out, the corners of her mouth could not help but slowly curl up into a playful smile. Her red lips opened slightly, and the clamor rang out again. Chu Yunyao, you coward, don't tell me you don't dare to come out? Shangguan Yingying and the others chuckled when they heard that. Haha, I didn't expect Chu Yunyao to become so timid after not seeing her for a while. Chapter 3852. What should we do? Why don't we just let him go? Shangguan Yingying chuckled, her words full of sarcasm and contempt. She clearly remembered how Chu Yunyao treated her at the beginning. Now she finally had a chance to retaliate against Chu Yunyao. Naturally, she would not be polite. The onlookers saw that after Bailey Hongzhuang and others said such harsh words, Chu Yunyao still stayed in the room without any movement. Their faces were also filled with surprise. Chu Yunyao hasn't come out yet. It's really not in line with her usual style. She shouldn't really be afraid of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, right? Now that Bailey Hongzhuang's people have obtained the inheritance of the Devil Training Pagoda, their strength is not what it used to be. This time, Chu Yunyao's face is lost, but she deserves it. With her usual style, there are many people who hate her. Now seeing her in such a situation, I only feel very happy. Damn it. Chu Yunyao stomped her feet angrily, her face was ferocious to the extreme, and the burning anger in her eyes almost burned her out. I can't stand to let them continue to ridicule and insult me like this. Chu Yunshang saw Chu Yunyao. I have been in Penglai Palace for so long, and I have never suffered such humiliation. Even if Lord Long and others are outside, I can't continue to endure like this. Otherwise, how can I face people in the future? I must teach them a good lesson today and let them die in my hands. Chu Yunyao's hands clenched into fists, and her chest was full of anger. She regretted that she didn't kill Shangguan Yingying and Bailey Hongzhuang directly at the beginning, so as to cause the current trouble. Yunyao, Chu Yunshang was a little helpless. She didn't expect things to get to this point. Bailey Hongzhuang and others were just newcomers. They were so arrogant, which was completely different from the style of ordinary cultivators. However, Chu Yunyao ignored Chu Yunshang's words and rushed out of the house. Just when Bailey Hongzhuang and others thought that Chu Yunyao would not come out today anyway, the closed door suddenly opened, and then Chu Yunyao's figure appeared in their sight. Bailey Hongzhuang, are you looking for death? As soon as she came out, Chu Yunyao's eyes locked on Bailey Hongzhuang and roared loudly. In the face of Chu Yunyao's roar, Bailey Hongzhuang did not mind. The smile on her lips was still brilliant, and her bright face was beautiful unparalleled. Chu Yunyao, you finally came out. I thought you were going to stay in the house and didn't dare to come out to meet people. Don't do this. Why don't I dare to come out? Yours, Lord Long's you, as you don't want to protect lords? If you want to rely on Master Long and the others to protect you, you better be careful. If Master Long and the others aren't by your side, your little life can be lost at any time. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Do you think everyone is like you? You only know how to bully others? Open your dog eyes and look carefully. There are only a few of us here. Don't get Lord Long involved. Shangguan Yingying said. Chapter 3853. Chu Yunyao looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and others in front of her and secretly cursed in her heart. Are these people out of their minds? Since Master Long and Mentor Yi are not here, they dare to come to her for trouble. This is tantamount to courting death. Is it possible that Master Long and others are in other places, and Bailey Hongzhuang and others want to force her to do it first? Chu Yunyao was secretly puzzled. For a while, she didn't dare to do anything. She always felt that the situation in front of her was a little strange. Maybe Bailey Hongzhuang and others had set up a trap and waited for her to jump in. After Chu Yunyao came out, Chu Yunshang also came out. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes fell on Chu Yunshang. After a careful look, she found that the appearance of the two sisters was really similar. If she didn't speak, she really couldn't tell whether it was Chu Yunyao or Chu Yunshang. Originally, she was very disgusted with the two sisters, but when she learned about the past of Chu Yunshang from Ren Ziheng and others, her impression of Chu Yunshang was much better. Not to mention Chu Yunshang's character, at least she was full of affection for her sister, which was undoubtedly much better than Chu Yunyao. Chu Yunyao, you should have seen clearly now that Master Long and others are not here at all. Bailey Hongzhuang said coldly. Chu Yunyao frowned and subconsciously looked at Chu Yunshang. Although she did not see Master Long, she always felt that since Bailey Hongzhuang and others were here, things would not be so simple. Bailey Hongzhuang, what do you want to do? Chu Yunshang's eyes were cold. She thought that after a while, she would find a way to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and others. She didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang and others would be so fast. As soon as they returned to Penglai Palace, they had already come to trouble them, which was really beyond her expectations. What do I want to do? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, but the curve of her lips was a little colder. It's very simple. If there is a grudge, an eye for an eye. Chu Yunyao, Chu Yunsheng, last time you two sisters joined forces to kidnap Yingying. If we hadn't successfully rescued Yingying, she would have died in your hands now. This time, we will make you pay the price. Xiren's eyes were burning with anger. Even though this matter had passed for several months, Shangguan Yingying's injury had been imprinted in his heart. Even now, he could not forget how pale and weak Shangguan Yingying looked when he first saw her. Since young, Shangguan Yingying had always lived a life of luxury and had never suffered any hardships. He was determined to protect Shangguan Yingying. But this time, he did not expect Shangguan Yingying to suffer such humiliation. If he did not take revenge, he would not be able to vent his anger. With Xiren's voice falling, the crowd was in an uproar, and the eyes looking at Chu Yunyao and Chu Yunyao suddenly changed a little. I didn't expect that Chu Yunsheng and Chu Yunyao really took Shangguaning away. No wonder Bailey Hongzhuang and others came back to clamor. Bailey Hongzhuang and others are also very powerful. At that time, they were able to save Shangguan Yingying from their hands. This is very amazing. Chapter 3854. As the conflict between Bailey Hongzhuang and the others gradually escalated, the cultivators of Penglai Palace also rushed over. There were not many situations where such a big commotion was caused in the inner hall. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were currently in the limelight. Everyone wanted to know how much progress they had made after obtaining the inheritance of the demon training pagoda. They did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others would give them a chance to observe as soon as they returned. Naturally, no one was willing to miss it. You want me to pay the price with just you? Chu Yunyao sneered, her eyes filled with disdain and ridicule. You don't even know how much you are worth. You should be thanking the heavens if I don't go looking for trouble with you. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang also sneered. Every dog has its day. We were indeed no match for you last time, but that doesn't mean that we're still no match for you now. Bailey Hongzhuang, I know that you have obtained the inheritance of the demon training pagoda and your strength has improved. However, if it is just because of this that your morale has greatly increased, it would be a bit too laughable. Chu Yunyao looked coldly at Bailey Hongzhuang as the corners of her lips curled into a sneer. Do you think that the gap in strength is so easy to cross? So what if your cultivation is about the same as mine? You are no match for me. Chu Yunyao, I find that your ability to deceive yourself is very good. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. Under the sunlight, her beautiful face was extremely beautiful. Back then, your cultivation was 3 levels higher than mine, and I was able to contend with you. Now that my strength has greatly improved, you still want to be my opponent? Don't you know if you are worthy? I'm here today to take your life. At this point, Bailey Hongzhuang's voice suddenly surged with a strong killing intent. This kind of killing intent came from all directions, bringing with it a dense chill that made people shudder. When everyone felt the killing intent emitted by Bailey Hongzhuang, they couldn't help but shiver. They all looked at her in astonishment. They never thought that the killing intent she emitted would be so terrifying. Under this murderous aura, everyone felt their minds being affected. They couldn't help but think of the things they were most afraid of. Chu Yunyao felt the murderous aura released by Bailey Hongzhuang the most. She immediately looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with horror. This kind of murderous aura was the most she had ever felt in her entire life. A chill seemed to rise from the soles of her feet. She was enveloped in the murderous aura. It was as if she saw a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. It was extremely terrifying. Chu Yunyao couldn't help trembling. She stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in a daze and tried to restrain her body, not wanting to show such a timid look. Unfortunately, she had never faced such a murderous aura before and had no resistance to it. Even if she tried her best to control it, she was still affected by it. Murderous aura. This is the unique murderous aura of the Demon Refining Tower. Among the cultivators present, there was no lack of people who could recognize this murderous aura. The Demon Refining Tower had always been most famous for this murderous aura. As long as they fought in the arena, after winning the battle, the murderous aura in their bodies would increase. As the murderous aura gradually thickened, it became a fighting method for the cultivators of the demon refining tower. Chapter 3855. After Chu Yunxiang noticed this scene, her face suddenly changed. Even with her cultivation base, she felt a sense of horror in the murderous aura of Bailey Hongzhuang. It was just that the killing intent could affect a person's heart. This kind of power was truly terrifying. This was also the first time Shangguan Yingying and the others had seen Bailey Hongzhuang release such a terrifying killing intent. They couldn't help but be shocked. I never thought that the killing intent released by junior sister Bailey would be so powerful. It's truly amazing. Ren Ziheng couldn't help but sigh. Because you guys have stayed in the demon refining tower for so long, the killing intent released must be so terrifying. Hearing this, when Xiren shook his head and said, although fighting in the demonic tower can increase one's murderous aura, the murderous aura is not as strong as this. I believe that the murderous aura that Hongzhuang is releasing is related to the inheritance of the demonic tower. Previously, he had also seen Bailey Hongzhuang's battle in the arena, and it was obvious that he was unable to reach such a level. In this way, other than the explanation of the inheritance obtained from the demon refining tower, there was no other possibility. So that's how it is. Chu Jinfeng immediately understood. Although Hongzhuang only casually released a trace of killing intent, this killing intent is truly terrifying. It seems that the inheritance of the demon refining tower is truly worthy of its reputation. I really want to see what it looks like. Shangguan Yingying smiled slightly. If you're lucky, you might be able to see it later. Chu Yunyao was in a state of shock for a short period of time, and couldn't help but be affected by Bailey Hongzhuang's killing intent. She was confused for a moment, but she quickly reacted, and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with eyes full of anger. Bailey Hongzhuang, stop pretending to be mysterious. If you really want to fight, then I'll accompany you to the end. Last time, you were lucky to have escaped. This time, you actually took the initiative to deliver yourself to me. I will definitely not let you have the chance to go back. Chu Yunyao's eyes were as sharp as a knife. She looked at Bailey Hongzhuang as if she wanted to tear her into pieces. She would never allow Duan Huali to fall in love with another woman, so Bailey Hongzhuang had to die. This time, it's not you who wants me dead, it's me who wants you dead. Bailey Hongzhuang said coldly. Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue quietly stood beside Bailey Hongzhuang. They were very clear that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was no longer the same as before. To deal with Chu Yunyao, Bailey Hongzhuang only needed Bailey Hongzhuang to take action herself. Last time, Chu Yunyao had kidnapped Shangguan Yingying. Bailey Hongzhuang had always felt very guilty. She only wanted to personally avenge Shangguan Yingying. In this regard, they naturally had to fulfill Bailey Hongzhuang's wish. Therefore, they had already decided that as long as Bailey Hongzhuang could solve it, they would not interfere unless Chu Yunyao found help. What arrogance! Chu Yunyao chuckled. Don't think that you are so great just because you have obtained an inheritance. Don't regret your actions when you reach the netherworld. You think too much. Bailey Hongzhuang said lightly. Shangguan Yingying looked at the very proud Chu Yunyao. The situation at that time also appeared in her mind. Chu Yunyao, you are so selfish. It is also a good thing that you die. In this way, Duan Huali does not have to live in your shadow. Serves you right that Duan Huali liked your sister back then. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't like you. Chapter 3856. But as Shangguan Yingying's voice fell, Chu Yunyao's face suddenly turned ugly to the extreme. She looked at Shangguan Yingying with her teeth bared and her eyes bloodshot. She shouted angrily, "What nonsense are you talking about?" Chu Yunxiang obviously did not expect that Shangguan Yingying would also dig up the past. To be honest, it was also an unforgettable past for her. Now she only hoped that this matter could gradually fade away. It was a pity that Chu Yunyao had been deeply involved in it and could not extricate herself from the beginning to the end. She also felt extremely helpless. Now that Shangguan Yingying said this in front of everyone, she couldn't help but feel as awkward as before. How am I talking nonsense? Shangguan Yingying curled her lips and said righteously, not to mention me, even if it's anyone present, They will think that this matter is completely because of your own selfishness that you broke up your sister and Duan Huali. I didn't expect that you still don't repent after so long. Instead, you think that your sister is the third party. It's really hopeless. I knew him first. It's me. It's me, Chu Yunyao emphasized. However, Shangguan Yingying didn't care. Do you think love is buying things? What's first come, first served. If I were you, I would have left obediently. But you have to come between your sister and Duan Huali and disturb this relationship. Why not first come, first served? If it weren't for her interference, I would have been with Duan Huali long ago. How could it become like this now? Chu Yunyao's face was gloomy, and her eyes were full of killing intent when she looked at Shangguan Yingying. Obviously, Shangguan Yingying's words had deeply stimulated her, which made her unable to accept it at all. You're really stubborn. It's really bad luck for your sister to have a sister like you. Shangguan Yingying was completely helpless. When she was taken away last time, she already knew how persistent Chu Yunyao was about this matter. However, after knowing the grievances, she felt that the problem was all because of Chu Yunyao. Everyone wanted to see the lovers get married in the end. However, Chu Yunyao liked to break up mandarin ducks. She felt very unhappy when she saw it. Although Duan Huali and Chu Yunshang were not good people, she still sympathized with them on this point. Unfortunately, with Chu Yunyao between them, they would never be together in this life. At this moment, the cultivators present naturally recalled the sensational love triangle back then. Until now, there were still people talking about it enthusiastically. It was only after seeing Chu Yunyao's attitude towards this matter that everyone was shocked to realize that Chu Yunyao had not given up after such a long time. I finally understand why Chu Yunyao is looking for trouble with Bailey Hongzhuang. It must be that Duan Huali has taken a fancy to Bailey Hongzhuang this time, so things have become like this. Well, from the looks of it, Bailey Hongzhuang is quite unlucky. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang's strength is good. Otherwise, I'm afraid she would have died silently in the hands of Chu Yunyao. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. Chu Yunyao's persistence in this matter also made them feel terrible. Feeling the strange eyes of the crowd, Chu Yunyao also frowned, and her eyes burned with anger. Shangguan Yingying, if you talk nonsense again, I will kill you. Chapter 3857. The elemental energy in Chu Yunyao's body burst out, and the aura of the 9th level of the Purple Realm was fully revealed. Her speed was very fast, and the moment she finished speaking, she attacked directly. When Shangguan Yingying saw Chu Yunyao suddenly attacking her, a trace of panic flashed in her eyes. However, just as Chu Yunyao was about to attack Shangguan Yingying, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly blocked her. Your opponent now is me, Bailey Hongzhuang said lightly. Chu Yunyao was already very unhappy when she didn't succeed in one blow. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang in front of her, she was also angry. Since you like to find trouble, then I will fulfill your wish. As soon as her voice fell, Chu Yunyao released the pressure of the 9th level of the Purple Realm, and without hesitation, crushed Bailey Hongzhuang. After everyone felt Chu Yunyao's strength, they couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. They heard that Chu Yunyao's character was very annoying, but they had to admit that her strength was also very outstanding in this inner hall. The strength of the 9th level of the Purple Realm was not easy to reach. Everyone had to be a little wary of cultivators with such cultivation. In contrast, Bailey Hongzhuang was so young and had just joined the Penglai Palace. Even with the existence of the inheritance of the Demon Training Tower, everyone still thought that the possibility of Bailey Hongzhuang winning was very small. The newborn calf was not afraid of the tiger. Perhaps this was the case. She was young and impulsive after all. She couldn't bear some humiliation. As soon as she came back, she directly came to take revenge. In their opinion, with Bailey Hongzhuang's potential, as long as they waited for a while, she would be able to defeat Chu Yunyao sooner or later. Seeing Chu Yunyao directly releasing her pressure as soon as she made a move, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but sneer. It's the same old trick again, but it's no longer useful to me. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand, and the pressure released by Chu Yunyao directly dissipated into nothingness. Seeing this scene, everyone present was stunned. They stared blankly at Bailey Hongzhuang, their faces filled with disbelief. Chu Yunyao was also dumbfounded. She couldn't react for a while. Obviously, she couldn't believe that the pressure she released was so easily resolved by Bailey Hongzhuang. That was the aura of a 9th-level Purple Realm cultivator. When she had released this aura a few months ago, even Bailey Hongzhuang had a hard time resisting it. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had increased, it was still impossible for her to completely ignore it. I never thought that I would underestimate you. Chu Yunyao's face was gloomy, and her voice was a bit heavy. She was secretly wondering what realm Bailey Hongzhuang had reached now. In fact, although she had been stubborn before, she knew in her heart that Bailey Hongzhuang's potential was indeed very shocking. At that time, her cultivation was 3 levels lower than hers, but she was able to rely on the inheritance of the blood chi field to contend against her. If it weren't for her cultivation being strong enough, she really wouldn't have the confidence to defeat Bailey Hongzhuang. Could it be that the inheritance of the demon refining pagoda had allowed Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation to increase again? If that was the case, then she really had to be careful. However, when Chu Yunyao turned her head and saw Chu Yunshang behind her, her heart immediately calmed down. After all, she wasn't alone. You didn't underestimate me, you overestimated yourself. Chapter 3858. Now, I'll let you see what real pressure looks like. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Chu Yunyao couldn't react for a while. She didn't understand the meaning of these words, but soon Bailey Hongzhuang had already used actions to make her understand. Because Bailey Hongzhuang directly released her pressure, a powerful pressure suddenly erupted, directly enveloping Chu Yunyao in front of her. Chu Yunyao didn't care at first, but after Bailey Hongzhuang's pressure was released, she only felt her whole body sink, as if there was an invisible mountain pressing on her body, making it difficult for her to move. Chu Yunyao raised her eyes in shock and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in front of her in disbelief. Her whole person seemed to have been hit hard, and she said in a daze, "Star Realm?" The surrounding cultivators were also affected by this pressure and immediately retreated. This feeling of being pressured by Mount Tai was not a comfortable one. How is it possible? It's only been a few months. How can you break through to the Star Realm? Chu Yunyao kept questioning. Bailey Hongzhuang's breakthrough in strength really hit her too hard. She never expected that Bailey Hongzhuang could break through to the Star Realm. Star Realm was completely different from the 9th level of the Purple Realm. Although it was only a slight difference, the pressure released by Bailey Hongzhuang at this moment suppressed her deeply, making it difficult for her to move. Chu Yunshang also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. During this period of time, she had been trying to break through from the 9th level of the Purple Realm to the Star Realm. Unfortunately, the bottleneck of the Star Realm was too difficult to break through. If there was no certain opportunity, it would be impossible to succeed. She had worked very hard, but there was still a slight difference. She wanted to take advantage of this period of time to successfully break through and then deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and others. She didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang and others had broken through earlier than her. How could this not surprise her? It was not an easy thing to break through to the Starry Sky Realm. Bailey Hongzhuang was only at the 6th level of the Purple Forbidden Realm before, but in a few months she was promoted to the Starry Sky Realm. This speed of promotion was too shocking. You can't break through, but it doesn't mean that I can't break through. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Chu Yunyao jokingly. Before I left last time, I said that when I came back, I would get it back from you with interest. Now it's time for me to get it back. It was not until this moment that a feeling of fear rose in Chu Yunyao's heart. She couldn't deal with the cultivators of the Star Realm. Not only her, even if Chu Yunshang and she joined forces, they would not be Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent. Ren Ziheng and others were also dumbfounded at this moment. They only felt that the image of Bailey Hongzhuang in front of them was so tall. Oh my God! Chu Jinfeng sighed. Junior sister Bailey is too abnormal. When I first met her, her cultivation was so much weaker than mine. How could it be that in just a few months, she has surpassed me by so much? For everyone, the Star Realm has always been a gap that is difficult to cross. I didn't expect junior sister Bailey to cross it so easily. It's really amazing. Chapter 3859. After Bailey Hongzhuang displayed the strength of the Starlight Realm, she was in the limelight for a while. Although there were many experts in the Penglai Inner Palace, there were very few cultivators who could break through to the Starlight Realm. This was because there was an insurmountable gap between the 9th level of the Purple Realm and the Starlight Realm. Once crossed, the strength would no longer be the same as before. However, the vast majority of cultivators would stop at the 9th level of the Purple Realm. Needless to say, everyone clearly knew that the reason why Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation could increase so quickly was definitely related to the Demon Training Tower. At this moment, everyone also understood why the inheritance of the Demon Training Tower could make everyone scramble for it. It was because it could allow people to directly break through the bottleneck that they could not break through normally. Thinking of this, everyone's gaze could not help but fall on Bewitching and Mo Yunjue. Since Bailey Hongzhuang could break through to the Starlight Realm, did that mean that Bewitching and Mo Yunjue had also become Shimenqing's cultivators? If that was the case, then the strength of their team was a bit too terrifying. Bailey Hongzhuang completely ignored Chu Yunyao and went forward to slap Chu Yunyao's face. Suddenly being humiliated like this, Chu Yunyao raised her head in anger. Her heart was burning with rage, as if she wanted to swallow Bailey Hongzhuang alive. However, facing Chu Yunyao's gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang was unmoved. I'm returning this slap to you on behalf of Yingying. Chu Yunyao was slightly stunned. She immediately remembered that when she kidnapped Shangguan Yingying, she had indeed slapped Shangguan Yingying many times. As soon as he finished speaking, a loud slap rang out again. Pa! Bailey Hongzhuang's slap was very heavy. With just one slap, Chu Yunyao's face was swollen. I said that I would take it back with interest. The corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips slowly curled into a faint smile. Her originally pure and charming face was even more outstanding and charming, but it only added a hint of devilish charm. How many slaps did you give Yingying back then? I'll make you pay back double. Pa. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands were as fast as lightning. In a short time, she had already slapped Chu Yunyao's face dozens of times. When everyone saw Chu Yunyao's face again, her face was no longer the same as before. It was completely swollen like a pig's head, making it impossible to distinguish. Bailey Hongzhuang, you've gone too far. Chu Yunyao shouted, but because Bailey Hongzhuang beat her into a pig head, her words were a little vague at the moment, and finally her teeth were loose. She was about to go crazy. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, she could only be humiliated by Paris Hongzhuang. No matter how hard she tried to break free from Bailey Hongzhuang's grip, the latter's hands were as hard as a rock and she could not move at all. This feeling simply made her collapse. I'm going too far? Compared with you, I'm nothing. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. After seeing this scene, Chu Yunyao couldn't help but rush over. Her face became very ugly, but she also knew that she was not Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent. She could only say, Bailey Hongzhuang, Yunyao has become like this now. You have already vented your anger. Why don't you let it go? Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes fell on Chu Yunsheng. Let it go. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.